The problem is not that you hate mornings, the problem is that clock time enters before consciousness does. The first sound you hear is not a bird. It is not wind moving through the window. It is not your body slowly returning from sleep. It is a phone beside your bed, screaming before you have even remembered who you are. Eyes open, heart jumps, a hand reaches for the screen before a thought can form. For a few seconds, waking up is not gentle. It is a summons. The room is dark, yet the clock has already judged you. 6:30, 6:31, 6:32. No words have been spoken. No choice has been made. Nothing has gone wrong yet. Still, guilt is already in the room. That is the trap. Modern life teaches the body to fear time before the day has even begun. This anxiety feels personal because it happens inside your chest. It feels like poor discipline, weak habits, bad planning, a failure to manage the day. The pressure is older than your calendar. For most of human history, nobody woke up at 7:42 and believed they had already fallen behind. Nobody looked at the sun and felt ashamed for not being productive enough. Nobody measured a human morning by how efficiently it could be divided. People did not live in increments, they lived in cycles. Light and darkness, hunger and fullness, rain and harvest, birth and death. The body moved with the world, not against it. Before the clock became a ruler, time was not a grid. It was an atmosphere. Morning was the return of light. Noon was the sun standing high above the fields. Evening was the fire being lit while the animals grew quiet. Work often followed tasks, not minutes. A walk lasted until arrival. Cooking ended when the rice was soft. Rest arrived when the body asked. Even time that was measured remained human in scale. A church bell could gather a town. A prayer hour could shape a day. A sundial could orient a traveler. Yet, these signals did not turn every private minute into evidence. Local rhythm still mattered. One household rose earlier, another worked later. A village could bend around weather, illness, hunger, and light. The problem is not that this older world was perfect. It was hard, dangerous, and unequal in its own ways. Yet it reminds us of something modern schedules hide. Time once served life. It did not stand over life with a stopwatch. Then, the clock entered the body. The change did not happen because human beings suddenly became more disciplined. It happened because the industrial world needed synchronization. A field could tolerate variation, a machine could not. A village could absorb someone arriving after sunrise. A factory line could not. This is why clock time became more than a tool. It became a system for training behavior. The bell no longer marked only prayer or gathering. It marked obedience. Start, stop, return, continue. The day was no longer shaped by sunlight. It was shaped by the factory whistle. At first, workers resisted in ordinary human ways. They arrived late, breaks stretched. Some worked intensely, then disappeared for a day. In some places, say Monday became an unofficial extension of the weekend. To modern ears, that sounds irresponsible. That reaction is part of the programming. From another angle, it was the old human rhythm refusing to die. Factory owners saw the rhythm as a crisis because idle machines meant lost money. If time could be lost, time had to be controlled. So time became money. Once that happened, wasting time became a moral failure. Being late was no longer only arriving after someone expected you. It became evidence of bad character. A slow person became an undisciplined person. A tired person became an unproductive person. A person who needed rest became a problem to correct. The logic spread because it was useful. Railways needed common time. Offices needed predictable hours. Schools needed bells. Armies, banks, factories, and shipping networks all benefited when bodies could be synchronized from a distance. That usefulness made the system harder to question. Eventually, the factory clock escaped the factory. It entered schools, offices, hospitals, transport, and homes. Children learned to ask permission to use the bathroom by the bell. Adults learned to eat when lunch break arrived, not when hunger did. Sleep became something squeezed between obligations. Even leisure became schedule. A weekend became a container. A vacation became an allowance. A lunch became a slot. The calendar did not only record events, it began to define the shape of an acceptable person. The entire planet was trained to move as if it were one enormous machine, and then we caught the training responsibility. The deeper consequence is that the clock did not only organize work, it colonized attention. Now, a minute is rarely just a minute. It is a debt, a threat, a measurement of whether you are keeping up. The body still runs on rhythmic time. Light in the morning, darkness at night, movement after waking, rest after effort, slow recovery after stress. Your circadian rhythm is not a metaphor. It is a biological system shaped by millions of years of sunrise and darkness. Yet, the meeting does not care when your brain is clear. The deadline does not care whether your nervous system is overloaded. The alarm does not care how deeply you slept. The clock is external. The body is internal. Modern life forces the internal world to obey the external one. This creates the strange split most people carry all day. Physically, you are here. Mentally, you are already ahead. Breakfast happens while the mind rehearses lateness. Work happens under the shadow of the next task. Rest happens beside the calculation of how little rest is left. The moment stops being a place to live. It becomes something watched as it disappears. That is time anxiety. Not simply having too much to do, but feeling that life itself is slipping through your hands. The body responds as if danger is near. Tension, alertness, a racing heart, a shallow breath, a quiet readiness for threat. The threat is not a predator in the grass. It is a number on a screen. 9:03, 11:58, 2:15. A grid of symbols with no smell, no body, no voice, and still it can tighten your stomach. The phone made this worse because the clock no longer waits on a wall. It rides in the pocket. It lights up beside the bed. It divides sleep with alarms, work with notifications, and friendship with reminders. Even absence becomes measurable. A message unanswered for 3 minutes can feel like neglect. A task unfinished by Friday can feel like failure. A year can feel wasted because it did not produce enough visible evidence. Productivity culture then sells the cure as more clock obedience. Wake earlier, plan harder, batch the day, optimize the hour, track the habit, measure the self. Some tools help. Those tools do not answer the wound if they only make the stopwatch smaller and place it deeper in the mind. The trap is not using clocks. The trap is believing the clock is the truth. So, the answer is not to abandon time. Hospitals need shifts. Trains need schedules. People need to meet. The clock is useful. Useful things become dangerous when they are mistaken for eternal things. The point is not to become irresponsible. The point is to stop confusing coordination with worth. When the alarm tears you out of sleep and your chest tightens before the day has begun, remember what is happening. That panic is not proof that you are failing. Exhaustion is not proof that you are lazy. Dread is not proof that you are broken. It may be your body remembering a different tempo. Mornings before alarms, work before whistles, sunlight before schedules, rest before it had to be earned. Returning completely to the village, the field, or the fire is not possible. Modern life is here, and part of being alive now is learning how to coordinate with it. Yet, coordination does not have to become worship. The clock can tell you when to arrive. It cannot tell you what your attention is worth. It can divide the day. It cannot define the value of a human day. That is the final takeaway. Time was never truly running out. That was the story we were sold. Life was always moving, slowly, quietly, in cycles. Somewhere along the way, we placed the machine at the center of the morning and wondered why the soul felt late. The next alarm may still ring. Before obeying it, take one breath. Let the body answer first. Let the machine be a tool again, not a judge.